Gaming Bolt presents the biggest worlds in video games. We have a lot to cover here, so let us dive right in. XENOBLADE Chronicles, 70,000 square miles. Set on the bodies of two massive titans, the story revolves around the natural forces of the Bionis combating the robotic forces of the Mechonis. Both worlds are polar opposites of one another, giving the player plenty of diverse locals and enemies to hack at. Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall, 62,394 square miles. The second game in the epic fantasy series, Daggerfall opened up the world and let players explore all of Tamriel. This was the game that truly began to establish the world of the Elder Scrolls, creating a gargantuan, dynamic world that held hundreds of memorable experiences. Lord of the Rings Online, 30,000 square miles. The game is a great MMO in its own right, but being able to fully explore Middle-earth and shape your own story is an opportunity that is hard to pass up. Who can forget memorable encounters against Balrogs and throngs of orcs? Guild Wars Nightfall, 15,000 square miles. The landscape of Guild Wars is another example of a massive living fantasy world. With diverse, gigantic regions teeming with wonderful monsters and dozens of players, the ecosystem is always shifting. Fuel, 5,560 square miles. Ripping across sand dunes, through cities and over wetlands is a great way to pass time and enjoy the simple pleasures of virtual driving. At the time of its release, it had one of the largest game worlds ever created, and it did a great job of not making it feel empty. The Crew, 1,900 square miles. What makes the Crew's world so unique is that it isn't just some random patch of land, it's the entire continental United States. Every state is a little different, and driving from one end of the country truly feels like a virtual road trip. Shenmue 2, 1,000 square miles. The Shenmue series didn't get famous by accident. The expertly crafted worlds go a long way in immersing the player in the dramatic tale of revenge. Shenmue 2 nails this aspect of the game and delivers a poignant slice of Japanese culture for players to get lost in. Final Fantasy XV, 800 square miles. We haven't actually explored the world of Final Fantasy XV yet, but we're going to go ahead and assume that it will be a stellar mix of fantasy and reality. Test Drive Unlimited, 618 square miles. If realistic driving isn't your thing, then Test Drive Unlimited is for you. The arcade-style driving means that roaring across the open roads of the massive game stays fun for hours. Acheron's Call, 500 square miles. MMOs are known for giving players large spaces to run around in, and Acheron's Call is no different. This title is soaked in fantasy. Strange monsters lurk in every area, constantly hunting down and murdering players. Final Fantasy XI, 500 square miles. Fans were shocked when it was announced that the 11th game in the Final Fantasy franchise would be an MMO. The title captured what was great about the franchise and perfectly translated it to an MMO format. Just Cause 2, 400 square miles. The size of Just Cause 2's world is only important because it means that there is more room to cause chaos. The story was boring, and some of the gameplay was a bit repetitive, but there was no denying how addictive it was to parachute around the game's island, searching for things to blow up. Just Cause 3, 400 square miles. The entire game is positioned so that players can create as much mayhem as humanly possible. The world isn't bigger than Just Cause 2's, but the increased focus on destruction takes what is great about the series and narrows in on it. Far Cry 3, 310 square miles. What's a great way to get lost in a world? Make players feel like they have a real impact, and Far Cry 3 did this in spades. Not only are there outposts to take and enemies to gun down, but also the hunting adds another layer to this already dynamic experience. Dragon Quest VIII, 300 square miles. Dragon Quest is one of the classic JRPG series. The worlds are expansive, always holding dozens of enemies and hidden treasures. True Crime Streets of LA, 240 square miles. True Crime Streets of LA lets players roam around the city with no regard for the law. Its massive cityscape had tons to do and see and remains a classic to this day. XENOBLADE Chronicles X, 200 square miles. The follow-up to XENOBLADE Chronicles isn't as large as the original, but its world is much more ambitious. You can travel on foot or pilot a mech called a Skell that will let you take in the views from the sky. Burnout Paradise, 200 square miles. Crashing and burning has never been more fun than it was in Burnout Paradise. The city wasn't the most exciting playground, but it offered up plenty of opportunities for sweet jumps and fiery wrecks. Star Wars Galaxies, 200 square miles. Star Wars Galaxies let us leap into the galaxy far, far away and live out our own Star Wars fantasies. It has been usurped by the Old Republic, but it is still the largest version of the Star Wars universe that we have ever explored. Operation Flashpoint Dragon Rising, 135 square miles. War-torn worlds are nothing new to gaming. We have trudged through dozens, if not hundreds, of fire-filled fields, but none as large as the one found in Operation Flashpoint Dragon Rising. Grand Theft Auto 5, 100 square miles. GTA 5 had the largest world that the series had ever offered up and crammed it with things to do. The 3 playable characters meant that there were even more things to see and do because they were split between the different protagonists. World of Warcraft Vanilla, 80 square miles. There aren't many worlds that are more famous than that of World of Warcraft. The world of Azeroth is huge, filled with fascinating lore, terrifying beasts, and a multitude of races. The world has changed a lot in the last 10 years, but the original world still has something magical about it. Superman Returns, 80 square miles. Not all the games on this list are good, but despite being a mediocre movie tie-in, Superman Returns lets us explore a massively dynamic version of Metropolis. Crime was random in this title, which meant you were soaring through the city with a purpose. The Witcher 3, 56 square miles. There was a lot of hype surrounding The Witcher 3, and for good reason. The world was enormous and absolutely littered with quests. You could barely walk 2 feet without happening upon a new question mark. Fallout 4, 39 square miles. Welcome back to the Wasteland. The Commonwealth of Boston has been ravaged by the terrors of nuclear warfare, but that's good news for us. It means we get to go on another epic Fallout adventure, filled with ghouls, super mutants, and even deathclaws. Far Cry 2, 31 square miles. Far Cry 2's large-scale African country is filled with militia and winding roads, making it difficult to progress as you constantly battle malaria. This is a very underrated entry in a great series. Elder Scrolls 4, 16 square miles. The game is filled with quests to do and guilds to join. After leaving the dungeons of the Imperial capital, the world of Cyrodiil completely opens up, truly letting players forge their own paths through the world.
And if you like what we're doing, go ahead and click that subscribe button. See you soon.